Welcome the anointed ones, let this truth penetrate the deepest places of your consciousness. Don't be fooled by your current balance. The numbers on your screen, the amount in your wallet, the limitations pressing against your vision, these are temporal shadows cast by circumstances that are already shifting in the realm of the eternal. Heaven has already stamped you as valuable beyond measure. Not valuable because of what you might become, not valuable because of what you might accomplish, but valuable because of who you inherently are. Your worth was established before your first breath, confirmed before your first heartbeat, sealed before your first step into this earthly realm. What feels like delay is only disguise. Behind the veil of apparent postponement, intricate preparations are being made. Resources are being positioned, people are being prepared, doors are being unlocked, systems are being aligned, and timing is being perfected. What appears to be divine forgetfulness is actually divine orchestration of the highest order. What looks like lack is preparation. Every season of scarcity has been a classroom where you learned lessons that abundance could never teach. Every moment of wanting has been a forge where your character was strengthened, your priorities clarified, your dependencies realigned. You haven't been suffering through meaningless delay, you've been enrolled in the most exclusive preparation program in the universe. You've been walking through training, not rejection. Every closed door was a redirection. Every no was protection from a yes that would have derailed your destiny. Every seemingly missed opportunity was heaven's way of reserving you for something greater, something more aligned with your ultimate purpose. And soon, sooner than your natural mind can comprehend, your story will shift so quickly it will make sense only in the language of God. The transition will be so swift, so complete, so perfectly timed that you will understand, in retrospect, why every other timeline would have been premature. But hear me clearly, with the full weight of eternal truth, wealth is not just a gift. It is a test. It is not simply increase. It is stewardship. This distinction is not merely semantic, it is the difference between blessing and burden, between divine favor and spiritual disaster. When heaven releases wealth into your hands, it comes with a sacred trust that transcends personal comfort or social status. You are not receiving money, you are receiving a tool for transformation. You are not gaining personal assets, you are being entrusted with kingdom resources. You are not simply getting rich, you are being appointed as a steward of divine purpose. The moment you understand this fundamental truth, your entire relationship with money shifts. You cease to be someone who has wealth and become someone through whom wealth flows for divine purposes. You transition from ownership to stewardship, from possession to partnership with heaven's economy. This appointment comes with weight. Not the crushing weight of religious obligation, but the substantial weight of eternal significance. Every dollar that flows through your hands carries the potential to shift circumstances, change lives, alter generational trajectories, and advance kingdom purposes on the earth. You will discover that wealth in the hands of the divinely appointed operates according to different principles than wealth in the hands of the merely ambitious. Your money will multiply differently. Your investments will yield differently. Your giving will impact differently. Your very presence in financial spaces will create different atmospheres because you carry the assignment, not just the assets. This is why the preparation period has been so essential. Heaven cannot entrust kingdom resources to unprepared vessels. The wealth that is coming to you is not ordinary wealth, it is anointed wealth, appointed wealth, assigned wealth that must be handled by someone who understands both its power and its purpose. Money, in its purest essence, is neutral. It possesses no inherent moral quality, no intrinsic good or evil. It is simply a tool, a medium, a mirror that reflects the heart condition of whoever holds it. But this neutrality makes it one of the most revealing forces in human experience. Money doesn't create who you are, it reveals it. Like a powerful spotlight suddenly illuminating a darkened stage, wealth exposes everything that was hidden in the shadows of scarcity. The humility you thought was genuine might prove to be mere circumstance. The generosity you believed was natural might be revealed as strategy. The gratitude you assumed was deep might show itself to be shallow. Conversely, wealth might reveal depths of character you never knew you possessed. You might discover a capacity for wisdom that surprises you, a natural inclination toward justice that flows from your spirit, a supernatural ability to discern truth from deception that emerges when the stakes are high. Poverty restricts choices, creating an environment where character is somewhat contained by circumstance. When your options are limited, your true nature has fewer opportunities for expression. But abundance multiplies temptations, creating a landscape rich with opportunities for both virtue and vice. Every temptation that was theoretical in poverty becomes practical in wealth. The pride you could only fantasize about when you had little becomes a real option when you have much. The power to hurt others, previously limited by your circumstances, expands exponentially with your resources. The ability to help, previously constrained by your means, suddenly becomes boundless. Wealth is a mirror. It shows you the motives you tried to hide, the wounds you never healed, the hunger you didn't admit. It reveals the deep places of your heart that you may have never explored, bringing to light both the beautiful and the broken aspects of your inner world. Those hidden insecurities that you managed to suppress during lean seasons will suddenly demand attention when you have the resources to compensate for them in unhealthy ways. The approval addiction that seemed manageable when you couldn't afford to impress anyone becomes dangerous when you have unlimited capacity to buy validation. The unresolved anger from past betrayals, previously contained by your powerlessness, might explode into destructive revenge when you finally have the means to retaliate. The fear of abandonment that you learned to live with during seasons of isolation might drive you to use wealth as a tool to control relationships and buy loyalty. But wealth also reveals your capacity for extraordinary good. The compassion that stirred in your heart when you had nothing to give finds full expression when you have everything to share. The vision for justice that burned in your spirit during your own seasons of injustice becomes actionable when you have the resources to create change. That's why God slows things down. In His infinite wisdom and boundless love, He recognizes that premature wealth could be spiritual suicide. He sees the areas of your heart that are not yet ready for the test of abundance, and in His mercy, He delays the blessing until the foundation of your character can support the weight of the assignment. Delay is His mercy. Every day that passes without the manifestation of your financial breakthrough is a day of divine protection, a day of character development, a day of spiritual preparation. Heaven is not withholding your blessing out of cruelty or forgetfulness, it is withholding it out of love and wisdom. During these seasons of divine delay, God burns away pride, exposing and eliminating the arrogance that would make you dangerous with wealth. He removes the subtle superiority that makes you believe you're entitled to more than others, the hidden contempt that would make you cruel to those who have less. He uproots insecurity, pulling up by the roots the deep-seated fears and self-doubt that would drive you to use money as a bandage for internal wounds rather than a tool for external impact. He heals the parts of your soul that would seek validation through material display rather than finding identity in divine calling. He heals your soul so that money serves you instead of owning you. This is the ultimate goal of the preparation period, not just to give you wealth, but to ensure that you can possess wealth without being possessed by it, that you can handle abundance without being handled by it. This purification process is neither quick nor comfortable. It involves the dismantling of every false foundation you've built your identity upon. It requires the examination of every motive, the healing of every wound, the confrontation of every fear. You will find yourself in situations where your character is tested at levels you never expected. Your integrity will be challenged when no one is watching. Your humility will be examined when everyone is praising. Your faithfulness will be measured when the stakes are highest. These are not arbitrary trials designed to make you suffer. They are precise instruments of divine preparation, each one carefully calibrated to address specific areas of your character that need strengthening before you can safely carry the weight of wealth. The person who emerges from this preparation period is fundamentally different from the one who entered it. You become someone who understands that wealth is a stewardship, not a status symbol. Someone who recognizes that abundance is a responsibility, not just a reward. Someone who knows that money is a tool for kingdom purposes, not just personal pleasure. In a world that celebrates visibility, that equates exposure with success and platform with purpose, the season of hiddenness can feel like punishment. You watch others seemingly catapult to prominence while you remain in the shadows. You observe peers receiving opportunities that you feel equally qualified for while your phone stays silent. You witness celebrations you weren't invited to, achievements you weren't included in, breakthroughs you weren't part of. But chosen one, you weren't forgotten. You were shielded. In the wisdom that only comes from seeing the end from the beginning, heaven made the decision to hide you during the season when visibility would have been vulnerability, when exposure would have been exploitation. God hid you while He stripped away relationships that couldn't survive your elevation. This process, though painful, was essential. Your current circle was formed during your current season, and many of the people in your life are attracted to your present state, not your future potential. They love you weak because weak you is manageable. They prefer you struggling because struggling you doesn't threaten their own sense of security. Had you been elevated while surrounded by people who were emotionally invested in your limitation, your rise would have triggered their insecurities, activated their jealousies, and awakened their sabotage instincts. The very people you trusted would have become the instruments of your destruction. He let betrayals teach you discernment. Every person who walked away when you needed them most was actually providing you with an invaluable education in human nature. Every friend who revealed themselves to be fair weather, every mentor who proved to be manipulative, every ally who turned into an adversary, each betrayal was a lesson in a curriculum you couldn't learn any other way. These betrayals weren't random cruelties inflicted by an indifferent universe. They were precisely timed revelations designed to show you the true character of people before you were in a position where their character could cost you everything. Better to lose a false friend in poverty than to be destroyed by a false friend in prosperity. Each betrayal developed your ability to see beyond surfaces, to discern motives beneath words, to recognize authenticity in a world full of performance. You learned to trust your instincts when people's actions didn't match their words. You developed an internal radar for detecting insincerity that will be invaluable when wealth makes you a target for every type of manipulator and opportunist. The pain of these betrayals also did something equally important. It burned away your naive belief that everyone who smiles at you wishes you well, that everyone who offers help has pure motives, that everyone who claims to love you is capable of genuine love. This loss of naivety isn't cynicism, it's wisdom. He thinned out your circle so that when the blessing comes, you'll know who is with you for purpose, not just for profit. This pruning process was surgical in its precision. Heaven didn't just randomly remove people from your life, it specifically identified those whose presence would compromise your assignment and orchestrated their departure. Some left through conflict, revealing their true character in moments of tension. Others drifted away through neglect, showing that their connection to you was based on convenience rather than commitment. Some were removed through geographic relocation, creating physical distance that reflected the spiritual distance that already existed. In each case, their departure created space for the right people to enter. For every false friend who walked away, room was made for a true ally. For every fair-weather supporter who disappeared, capacity was created for someone who would stand with you in all seasons. For every opportunist who showed their true colors, an opening was prepared for someone with genuine love. Early wealth would have been a setup for sabotage. Had the wealth come before the preparation, before the pruning, before the protection systems were in place, it would have activated every destructive force in your environment. Your unprepared character would have been overwhelmed by temptations you hadn't learned to resist. Your untested relationships would have crumbled under pressures they weren't designed to bear. The people around you, unprepared for your elevation, would have responded with jealousy, manipulation, and sabotage. Your family members, shocked by your sudden change in status, might have developed entitlement attitudes that would have poisoned your relationships. Your friends, feeling threatened by your new position, might have worked actively or passively to undermine your success. But protected wealth will be unshakable. The wealth that comes after the preparation period arrives with built-in protection systems. Your character has been tested and proven. Your relationships have been purified and strengthened. Your discernment has been sharpened and refined. You now understand the difference between those who love you and those who love what you can do for them. You can distinguish between those who celebrate your success and those who resent it. You have learned to recognize the signs of genuine friendship versus strategic positioning. The hiddenness that felt like punishment was actually preparation. During those lonely seasons when it seemed like everyone else was moving forward while you remained stationary, deep work was being done in the unseen places of your life. Character was being built, wisdom was being imparted, spiritual muscles were being strengthened. You learned to find your identity in something deeper than external validation. You discovered that your worth wasn't determined by social media likes or public recognition. You developed an internal sense of purpose that didn't require external confirmation to remain strong. This internal development created a type of spiritual insulation that will serve you well when wealth arrives. You won't be easily manipulated by flattery because you've learned to find validation in divine approval. You won't be devastated by criticism because you've discovered that your identity is secure in something more stable than public opinion. The loneliness taught you to hear heaven's voice more clearly. Without the constant noise of superficial relationships, you developed the ability to discern divine direction with greater accuracy. You learned to trust the promptings of your spirit because you had fewer competing voices demanding your attention. During your hidden season, Providence was working behind the scenes to position you for success. While you felt forgotten, divine connections were being arranged. While you felt stuck, doors were being prepared. While you felt delayed, timing was being perfected. The people who will be instrumental in your breakthrough are being prepared in their own seasons of development. The opportunities that will launch you into your destiny are being crafted with precision. The resources that will fuel your mission are being accumulated and positioned for release at the appointed time. Your hiddenness wasn't emptiness, it was preparation. Your isolation wasn't abandonment, it was incubation. Your delay wasn't denial, it was divine timing working with perfect precision to ensure that when you emerge ready, protected, and positioned for sustainable success. When God gives sudden increase, it isn't random. In a universe where every sparrow's fall is noted and every hair on your head is numbered, nothing, especially something as significant as wealth, is left to chance. Your financial breakthrough is not a cosmic accident, a lucky break, or a random blessing that happened to land in your lap. It is the result of divine intentionality, heavenly planning, and spiritual positioning that has been in motion since before you were born. Your wealth has been assigned, allocated, and appointed for specific purposes that align with kingdom priorities and eternal objectives. This understanding fundamentally changes how you approach your coming abundance. It's not about flexing, flaunting, or silencing critics. The wealth coming to you is not designed to be a tool for ego gratification or social positioning. It's not intended to prove your worth to those who doubted you or to silence those who criticized you. While vindication may be a byproduct of your elevation, it is not the primary purpose. Your breakthrough is not about them, it's about the assignment that heaven has entrusted to you, the mission that requires resources to complete, the divine agenda that needs funding to accomplish. It's for building, for healing, for funding assignments that shift generations. The wealth coming to you has been measured in time to meet specific needs in the earth that align with heaven's priorities. Somewhere, systems need to be built that will serve multiple generations. Somewhere, healing needs to be funded that will restore broken families, wounded communities, and damaged cultures. Your abundance is not just about upgrading your lifestyle, though your quality of life will certainly improve. It's about creating infrastructure that will serve purposes beyond your immediate needs. You're being resourced to build institutions, organizations, systems, and structures that will outlive you and impact people you'll never meet. This requires a fundamental shift in thinking from personal accumulation to generational impact. Instead of asking, "How much can I get?" you must learn to ask, "How much can I give? How much can I build? How much can I impact?" Your wealth becomes a tool for construction rather than consumption, for creating rather than collecting. This next level of provision is not just lifestyle, it's legacy. While your standard of living will certainly be enhanced by your coming abundance, the primary purpose of your wealth transcends personal comfort. You're being positioned to create a legacy that will speak long after your voice is silent, to build monuments of impact rather than monuments to ego. Your legacy will be measured not by what you accumulated for yourself, but by what you built for others. Not by the luxury you enjoyed, but by the liberation you facilitated. Not by the comfort you secured, but by the change you created. This perspective transforms every financial decision you make. Instead of simply asking, "What do I want?" you learn to ask, "What does the assignment require?" Instead of making choices based solely on personal preference, you make choices based on generational impact. It's about answering prayers that strangers whispered in the dark. While you were in your season of preparation, people you've never met were praying prayers for breakthrough, for provision, for intervention. Single mothers were crying out for help with their children's education. Entrepreneurs with world-changing ideas were asking for capital. Ministries with healing messages were seeking funding for expansion. Your wealth is, in part, heaven's answer to their prayers. You are being positioned as a solution to problems you haven't yet encountered, as an answer to prayers you haven't yet heard, as a resource for needs you haven't yet discovered. This reality should fill you with both humility and purpose. Humility, because you understand that your wealth is not just about you, it's about your assignment to serve as heaven's distribution point for blessing others. Purpose, because you recognize that your abundance has meaning beyond personal satisfaction, it has mission, assignment, and eternal significance. It's about creating systems of safety, revival, and restoration. Your wealth will fund the building of safety nets for those who are vulnerable, platforms for those whose voices carry truth, and healing spaces for those who are broken. You might find yourself funding scholarship programs that give opportunities to students who wouldn't otherwise have them. You might be led to invest in businesses that provide employment in underserved communities. You might feel called to support ministries that are bringing healing to the broken-hearted and restoration to the devastated. These are not random charitable impulses, they are expressions of the divine mission embedded within your assignment. Your wealth becomes the financial engine that powers movements of transformation, institutions of healing, and systems of restoration. You are not just being blessed. You are being resourced. There's a significant difference between these two concepts. A blessing can be enjoyed, resources must be stewarded. A blessing can be consumed, resources must be deployed. A blessing is about receiving, resources are about distributing. Heaven is not making you rich so you can live like the wealthy of this world. Heaven is making you wealthy so you can think like heaven, move like heaven, and deploy resources like heaven would deploy them if heaven had a physical presence on earth. You become heaven's economic representative, its financial ambassador, its resource distribution center. Through you, heaven funds its earthly agenda. Through your decisions, heaven's priorities receive practical support. Through your generosity, heaven's heart for humanity finds expression. This level of responsibility might feel overwhelming, but it comes with corresponding grace, wisdom, and supernatural insight. You won't be left to figure out these assignments on your own. The same divine intelligence that orchestrated your preparation will guide your distribution. You'll develop supernatural discernment about which opportunities are divinely orchestrated and which are merely attractive. You'll gain wisdom about timing, when to give immediately and when to wait. You'll receive insight about amounts, how much to allocate to each assignment without compromising the overall mission. The burden is heavy, but the yoke is easy because you're not carrying it alone. You're partnering with heaven in the deployment of resources for kingdom purposes. You're participating in the divine economy where the goal is not accumulation but circulation, not hoarding but healing, not collecting but creating. Even now, in what feels like your season of obscurity, unseen eyes are watching. This is not the paranoid observation of a judgmental deity looking for reasons to disqualify you, but the loving attention of divine intelligence that needs to ensure you're ready for the assignment that's coming. Mentors you haven't met yet are observing your character from a distance, waiting to see if you demonstrate the qualities they need in someone they'll eventually invest in. Investors who will one day fund your vision are studying your integrity in small things, knowing that faithfulness in little is the predictor of faithfulness in much. Spiritual gatekeepers who control access to certain levels of influence are watching how you handle the stewardship you currently have, understanding that future stewardship will mirror present stewardship. Allies who will one day stand with you in significant battles are observing whether you fight fairly in smaller conflicts. These observers are not judging you harshly or waiting for you to fail. They are measuring you carefully because they understand the weight of what they will eventually entrust to you. They know that character revealed in private seasons is character that will be consistent in public seasons. They are studying how you move when you have little, your discipline, your integrity, your patience. The scarcity you're experiencing is not just a season to endure, it's a test to pass. Every day that you choose integrity when compromise would be easier, every moment that you maintain your standards when lowering them would be more comfortable, every decision to do right when doing wrong would be more profitable, these are all being noted and recorded. Your discipline in managing limited resources indicates how you'll manage unlimited resources. If you're chaotic with little, you'll be chaotic with much. If you're strategic with little, you'll be strategic with much. If you're generous with little, you'll be generous with much. If you're selfish with little, abundance will only amplify your selfishness. Your integrity when no one important is watching reveals what your integrity will be like when everyone important is watching. The honesty you demonstrate with small amounts of money predicts the honesty you'll maintain with large amounts. The truthfulness you practice in low-stakes situations indicates the truthfulness you'll maintain in high-stakes situations. Your patience during seasons of delay demonstrates your ability to wait for divine timing rather than forcing human timing. If you can trust the process when the process is uncomfortable, you can be trusted with outcomes when outcomes are favorable. If you can maintain faith when faith is difficult, you can handle blessing when blessing is abundant. Because if you can be faithful with scarcity, you can be trusted with surplus. This is not just a biblical principle, it's a kingdom law that governs the distribution of divine resources. Heaven doesn't give much to those who have proven themselves unfaithful with little because abundance in the hands of the unfaithful becomes destructive rather than constructive. Faithfulness with scarcity is demonstrated in multiple ways. It's faithfulness to continue pursuing your calling even when the calling doesn't seem to be providing for you financially. It's faithfulness to maintain your character even when character seems to be costing you opportunities. It's faithfulness to serve others even when you feel like you need serving yourself. It's faithfulness to tithe and give offerings even when your income is minimal, demonstrating that you understand the principle of honoring God with the first fruits rather than the leftovers. It's faithfulness to pay your debts even when it's difficult, showing that you understand the importance of keeping your word regardless of circumstances. It's faithfulness to treat people with respect regardless of their ability to advance your agenda, demonstrating that your character isn't performance-based but genuine. It's faithfulness to work with excellence even in jobs that feel beneath your potential, showing that you understand the principle of doing everything as unto the Lord. Wealth doesn't come when you beg for it. It comes when you're ready for it. This is one of the most difficult truths for people in seasons of financial struggle to accept. The temptation is to believe that passionate pleading, desperate begging, or emotional manipulation can somehow accelerate divine timing. But heaven operates according to principles of readiness rather than intensity of desire. Your breakthrough comes not when you want it most, but when you're most prepared for it. Not when you need it most desperately, but when you can handle it most responsibly. Readiness is a comprehensive concept that involves multiple dimensions of development. Character readiness means you've developed the integrity to handle wealth without being corrupted by it. Relational readiness means you're surrounded by people who will support your assignment rather than sabotage it. Spiritual readiness means you understand your role as a steward rather than an owner. Emotional readiness means you can receive abundance without losing your humility or your connection to those who have less. Mental readiness means you think strategically rather than impulsively, generationally rather than temporarily. Physical readiness means you have the health and energy to manage the increased responsibilities that come with increased resources. The waiting period is not wasted time, it's preparation time. Every day that passes without your financial breakthrough is a day that something necessary is being developed in you. Every season of delay is a season of development. Every moment of postponement is a moment of preparation. During this time, you're learning lessons that abundance could never teach you. You're developing muscles of character that only struggle can build. You're gaining perspectives that only scarcity can provide. You're acquiring wisdom that only difficulty can impart. You're also being positioned for the relationships, opportunities, and assignments that will define your season of abundance. Divine networking is happening behind the scenes. Strategic connections are being arranged. Perfect timing is being orchestrated so that when you receive your breakthrough, everything necessary for your success is already in place. The waiting is also allowing heaven to remove everything that would compromise your assignment. Toxic relationships are being dissolved. Unhealthy patterns are being broken. Destructive mindsets are being transformed. By the time your wealth arrives, you'll be positioned to receive it without being destroyed by it. These unseen observers are not just watching, they're investing. Their attention is not passive observation but active evaluation. They're looking for someone worthy of their time, energy, resources, and influence. When they identify someone who passes the test of character in scarcity, they become invested in that person's success. This investment takes many forms. It might be mentorship that provides wisdom you couldn't acquire on your own. It might be financial backing that turns your vision into reality. It might be access to networks that would otherwise be closed to you. It might be opportunities that catapult you to levels you could never reach through your own efforts. But all of this investment is contingent upon your performance during the observation period. The character you demonstrate when you think no one important is watching determines the level of investment you'll receive when everyone important is watching. The person who emerges from this season with proven character, demonstrated integrity, and tested faithfulness becomes a magnet for the type of divine investment that transforms not just their life, but their entire generational line. Wealth shifts more than bank accounts, it shifts relationships. This is one of the most profound and often painful truths about financial elevation that many people are unprepared for. The numbers change, but so do the dynamics. The lifestyle upgrades, but so do the social complexities. The opportunities increase, but so do the relational challenges. Money has a way of revealing the true foundation of every relationship in your life. Some relationships that seem strong during your season of struggle will prove to have been built on a foundation of mutual limitation. When that limitation is removed from your side, the foundation crumbles, and the relationship cannot survive your elevation. Other relationships that seem supportive will prove to have been based on an unspoken agreement that you would remain at a certain level. When you break that agreement by rising beyond their expectations, they experience your growth as betrayal, your success as abandonment, your elevation as rejection. The harsh reality is that some people in your life are more comfortable with your potential than with your actualization. They love the idea of your success in theory but struggle with the reality of your success in practice. They can cheer for your dreams as long as those dreams remain dreams, but they become threatened when those dreams become realities. Some will accuse you of changing, when in reality, they only loved you while you were struggling. This accusation of change is one of the most painful experiences of wealth elevation because it comes from people you thought knew you, people you thought loved you for who you are rather than for what you lacked. But the truth is more complex and more painful. These people didn't fall in love with your character, they fell in love with your struggle. They didn't connect with your potential, they connected with your problems. They didn't bond with your strengths, they bonded with your weaknesses. Your struggle made you safe to them because struggling you posed no threat to their self-esteem. Your problems made you approachable because problems you needed them in ways that successful you might not. Your weaknesses made you manageable because weak you could be controlled in ways that strong you cannot. When wealth removes your struggle, solves your problems, and strengthens your weaknesses, these people feel like they've lost the person they fell in love with. But they never loved the real you. They loved the limited version of you that made them feel secure, needed, and superior. The accusation that you've changed is particularly painful because, in some ways, it's true. You have changed. Wealth does change people, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but always significantly. The question is not whether you've changed, but whether you've changed in ways that align with your divine assignment. The higher you rise, the quieter the circle becomes. This is an inescapable law of elevation that operates in every sphere of life, spiritual, financial, professional, and social. As you ascend to levels that fewer people can relate to, the number of people who can understand your experience naturally decreases. The problems you face at higher levels of wealth are problems that most people have never encountered and therefore cannot comprehend. The pressures you feel are pressures that most people have never experienced and therefore cannot empathize with. The decisions you must make are decisions that most people have never faced and therefore cannot advise you about. This creates a natural isolation that has nothing to do with arrogance or superiority and everything to do with the rarity of your experience. You find yourself in conversations where you must constantly translate your reality into terms that others can understand, or simply remain silent about significant aspects of your life. The loneliness is intensified by the fact that many people assume that wealth automatically solves all problems and eliminates all pain. They cannot understand how someone with financial abundance could experience loneliness, anxiety, or uncertainty. This assumption makes it even more difficult to find people who can offer genuine support and understanding. And though it feels like isolation, it's actually insulation, a sacred space where God can speak clearly without the noise of expectations. What appears to be social punishment is actually spiritual protection. What seems like relational loss is actually divine positioning. In the noise of well-meaning but misguided voices, it becomes difficult to hear the specific directions that heaven wants to give you regarding your assignment. Everyone has opinions about what you should do with your wealth, how you should spend it, who you should give it to, what causes you should support. These voices, even when motivated by love, can create confusion about your specific assignment. They can pressure you to deploy your resources in ways that align with their vision rather than heaven's vision. They can influence you to make decisions based on human wisdom rather than divine direction. The isolation that wealth creates removes you from the pressure of these competing voices and creates space for the only voice that truly matters, the voice of the one who gave you the assignment in the first place. In the quiet of your elevated position, you can hear divine direction with greater clarity and move with greater confidence. This isolation also serves to purify your motivation for maintaining relationships. When you have fewer people in your life, you must examine why you want the relationships you have. Are you maintaining connections because they serve your assignment, or because they serve your ego? Are you investing in relationships because they advance heaven's purposes, or because they advance your social status? The loneliness forces you to distinguish between relationships that are essential and relationships that are merely convenient. It compels you to invest your limited relational energy in connections that align with your assignment rather than connections that simply make you feel comfortable. In your season of elevation, you discover that relationship quality matters more than relationship quantity. A smaller circle of people who understand your assignment is more valuable than a larger circle of people who misunderstand your purpose. A few genuine friends who support your calling are more beneficial than many acquaintances who question your choices. This shift from quantity to quality requires intentional curation of your relational environment. You must learn to say no to social obligations that drain your energy without advancing your mission. You must develop the courage to distance yourself from people who consistently discourage your vision, even if they claim to love you. The goal is not to become antisocial or elitist, but to become strategic about how you invest the finite resource of your relational energy. Every relationship requires investment, time, energy, attention, emotional labor. When you're carrying a divine assignment that requires significant resources, you must be wise about how you allocate these relational investments. While human relationships may become more complex and less numerous, your relationship with the divine becomes more intimate and more consistent. In the quiet spaces that wealth creates, you develop a deeper appreciation for divine companionship. You learn to find comfort in conversations with heaven, strength in spiritual communion, and guidance in divine direction. This is not a consolation prize for human loneliness, it's an upgrade in relational quality. The divine understands your assignment in ways that humans cannot. Heaven comprehends your pressures in ways that earth cannot. God relates to your position in ways that people cannot. In this sacred relationship, you find the understanding that human relationships cannot always provide, the wisdom that human counsel cannot always offer, and the comfort that human companionship cannot always give. You discover that divine companionship is not just a substitute for human connection, it's a superior form of relationship that enhances and enriches all other connections. It's important to understand that the loneliness of elevation is temporary. As you grow into your assignment and become more comfortable with your position, you begin to attract people who can relate to your level of responsibility. You connect with others who carry similar assignments, who understand similar pressures, who face similar challenges. These new relationships are built on a foundation of shared purpose rather than shared limitation, common vision rather than common problems, mutual strength rather than mutual weakness. They are relationships that can survive success because they were forged in success. They can handle elevation because they were formed at elevation. The loneliness you experience during the transition period is not permanent isolation, it's temporary recalibration. You're not losing your capacity for relationship, you're upgrading your standards for relationship. You're not becoming antisocial, you're becoming selective. Not every open door is divine. This truth becomes especially critical as you approach your season of financial breakthrough. The closer you get to your destiny, the more opportunities will present themselves, some heaven-sent, others hell-bent on destroying your assignment before it can fully manifest. In seasons of scarcity, you might have been grateful for any opportunity that came your way. Limited options made decision-making relatively simple. But abundance creates complexity. Multiple doors open simultaneously, each one appearing beneficial, each one seeming to lead toward your desired destination. The challenge lies in recognizing that not all beneficial opportunities are divinely ordained opportunities. Some things that would help you are not things that heaven has assigned to you. Some doors that would advance your career might derail your calling. Some opportunities that would increase your wealth might decrease your impact. Some opportunities will look like blessings but are traps in disguise, contracts that exchange freedom for influence, deals that contaminate your calling. These counterfeits are particularly dangerous because they offer real benefits. They're not obviously harmful, they're subtly destructive. They don't immediately damage your life, they gradually compromise your assignment. The enemy cannot stop the blessing, but he will try to taint it. This represents a significant shift in demonic strategy that many people don't anticipate. During your season of preparation, the primary attacks were designed to prevent your breakthrough entirely, to stop you from reaching your destiny, to abort your assignment before it could be birthed. But once it becomes clear that your elevation is inevitable, that your breakthrough cannot be prevented, that your assignment will be funded, the enemy's strategy changes. If he cannot stop the blessing, he will attempt to corrupt it. If he cannot prevent your success, he will try to pollute it. This corruption often comes through opportunities that are almost right, doors that are nearly perfect, deals that are mostly beneficial. The enemy offers you 95% of what God intended to give you through means that compromise 100% of what God intended to accomplish through you. These corrupted opportunities are designed to give you wealth while stripping away your assignment, to provide financial increase while removing spiritual impact, to grant material success while sabotaging eternal significance. They offer you a fortune at the cost of your calling, prosperity at the price of your purpose. That's why discernment is more valuable than ambition. Ambition without discernment leads to achievement without assignment, success without significance, wealth without purpose. Discernment provides the spiritual wisdom to distinguish between opportunities that serve your assignment and opportunities that serve your ego. Discernment helps you recognize when an offer is too good to be true, when a deal requires compromises that your calling cannot afford, when a partnership would contaminate the purity of your mission. It enables you to see beyond the immediate benefits to the long-term consequences, beyond the surface attractions to the hidden costs. This spiritual discernment operates at levels that natural wisdom cannot reach. It perceives motivations that are hidden, agendas that are disguised, consequences that are not obvious. It senses spiritual atmospheres, discerns hidden intentions, and recognizes the difference between divine orchestration and demonic manipulation. Developing this level of discernment requires intimate relationship with the divine, regular communion with heaven, and consistent practice in hearing God's voice. It cannot be learned through books alone or acquired through teaching alone. It must be developed through experience, refined through testing, and sharpened through use. One of the most common areas where discernment is required involves partnerships and alliances. Wealth attracts potential partners, and not all of them have pure motives. Some are attracted to your resources rather than your vision, your money rather than your mission, your success rather than your assignment. True partners are identified not by their enthusiasm for your wealth, but by their commitment to your calling. They're not primarily interested in what they can get from the association, but in what they can contribute to the assignment. They don't just want to be connected to your success, they want to be committed to your purpose. False partners reveal themselves through their focus on benefits rather than responsibilities, rights rather than duties, receiving rather than giving. They're more interested in what the partnership can do for them than what they can do for the partnership. They view the relationship as an opportunity for extraction rather than contribution. Discernment helps you recognize these red flags before you enter into agreements that would compromise your mission. It enables you to ask the right questions, examine the right motivations, and evaluate partnerships based on alignment with your assignment rather than attraction to your assets. Another area where discernment is crucial involves opportunities that promise spiritual shortcuts, ways to accelerate your impact, expand your influence, or advance your mission through methods that bypass the principles of kingdom operation. These opportunities often come with compelling arguments about efficiency, effectiveness, and expedience. They promise to help you reach more people faster, make more impact sooner, accomplish more with less effort. They appeal to your desire to maximize your assignment and multiply your influence. But kingdom principles cannot be shortcut without compromising kingdom results. Divine assignments must be accomplished through divine methods, even when those methods seem slower or more difficult than available alternatives. The means must align with the ends, and the methods must reflect the values of the mission. Discernment helps you recognize when efficiency is being prioritized over integrity, when speed is being valued over substance, when results are being pursued at the expense of righteousness. It enables you to choose the path that honors both the destination and the journey, both the outcome and the process. Divine doors can be identified by certain characteristics that distinguish them from counterfeit opportunities. They align with your calling rather than contradicting it. They enhance your assignment rather than compromising it. They strengthen your relationship with heaven rather than straining it. Divine opportunities often require faith, but they don't require compromise. They may challenge your comfort zone, but they don't challenge your convictions. They might stretch your abilities, but they don't violate your values. They expand your capacity without corrupting your character. These heaven-sent opportunities also have a quality of peace associated with them. Even when they're challenging or require significant investment, there's an underlying sense of rightness, a spiritual confirmation that this is the path heaven has ordained. This peace persists even when circumstances are difficult or when others question your decision. Divine doors also tend to align with the spiritual seasons and natural timing of your assignment. They open when you're ready for them, not when you're desperate for them. They appear when you have the capacity to handle them responsibly, not when you're most eager to escape your current circumstances. Developing discernment requires what might be called prophetic patience, the ability to wait for divine confirmation before moving through open doors, the wisdom to seek heavenly counsel before making commitments, the discipline to pause for spiritual evaluation even when opportunities have deadlines. This patience is prophetic because it's based on the understanding that heaven has a timeline that's different from Earth's timeline, priorities that transcend immediate benefits, and purposes that extend beyond obvious advantages. It recognizes that divine timing is perfect timing, even when it conflicts with human urgency. Prophetic patience doesn't mean indefinite delay or paralysis by analysis. It means taking the time necessary to ensure that your decisions align with your assignment, that your choices serve your calling, that your opportunities advance heaven's agenda rather than just your agenda. This practice becomes especially important as wealth increases your options and amplifies the consequences of your decisions. When you have more resources at your disposal, the impact of wrong choices is magnified, and the importance of right choices is intensified. Your first million isn't the finish line. It's the starting gun. This reality catches many people off guard because the common assumption is that wealth solves problems rather than creates them. The expectation is that financial breakthrough brings peace rather than conflict, ease rather than intensity, rest rather than warfare. But the opposite is often true. Your breakthrough doesn't end the battle, it escalates it. Your success doesn't eliminate opposition, it intensifies it. Your elevation doesn't reduce spiritual warfare, it amplifies it at levels you never experienced during your season of struggle. This escalation occurs because wealth represents more than personal prosperity, it represents kingdom advancement. When heaven releases resources to fund divine assignments, hell recognizes the threat and responds accordingly. The enemy understands that your wealth isn't just about you, it's about what you'll accomplish with it. Every dollar that flows through your hands represents potential kingdom impact. Every investment you make could fund divine purposes. Every business you build could become a platform for transformation. Every institution you support could become a catalyst for revival. The enemy sees these possibilities and responds with warfare designed to neutralize the threat before it can be fully realized. It draws attention, exposes hidden enemies, and awakens generational resistance. Wealth operates like a magnet that attracts both positive and negative forces. It draws genuine opportunities and false ones, true friends and fake ones, divine connections and demonic oppositions. The attention that wealth brings is not always welcome or beneficial. People who ignored you during your season of struggle suddenly become interested in your success. Individuals who never supported your vision suddenly want to be part of your journey. Organizations that never acknowledged your potential suddenly seek your partnership. This attention also awakens enemies who were dormant during your season of limitation. People who felt no threat from struggling you suddenly feel threatened by successful you. Individuals who could ignore your potential when it was unrealized cannot ignore your power when it's manifested. Some of these enemies were hidden in plain sight, people who smiled at you while secretly hoping you would fail, individuals who offered encouragement while privately working against your success, supposed friends who revealed their true nature only when your elevation triggered their insecurities. But it also confirms that you are the curse breaker, the one who shifts your bloodline forever. Your financial breakthrough doesn't just affect you, it affects your entire generational line. It breaks cycles of poverty that may have persisted for decades or centuries. It establishes new patterns of abundance that will influence your children and your children's children. This generational significance is precisely why the warfare intensifies. You're not just achieving personal success, you're altering spiritual atmospheres, breaking demonic assignments, and establishing new spiritual precedents for your family line. The enemy understands the generational implications of your breakthrough and responds with generational resistance. This resistance often manifests through family members who suddenly become critical of your success, relatives who develop entitlement attitudes toward your wealth, or ancestral patterns of self-sabotage that emerge just as you're experiencing breakthrough. These are not random occurrences, they're manifestations of generational resistance to the shift you're creating. The warfare may also include attempts to recreate historical patterns of failure within your family line. If previous generations lost wealth through certain mistakes, you may find yourself facing similar temptations. If your ancestors struggled with specific character flaws that led to their downfall, you may find those same weaknesses being tested in your life. The warfare intensifies, but so does your covering. Heaven doesn't release you into higher levels of spiritual battle without providing higher levels of spiritual protection. Your breakthrough comes with corresponding breakthrough in the realm of divine covering, angelic assignment, and spiritual authority. The same divine intelligence that orchestrated your preparation has also prepared your protection. The angels assigned to your assignment have been upgraded to match the intensity of the warfare you'll face. The spiritual weapons at your disposal have been enhanced to match the sophistication of the attacks against you. Your prayer life develops new dimensions of authority and effectiveness. Your spiritual discernment sharpens to perceive threats that would have been invisible during your previous season. Your faith operates at higher levels because it's being challenged at higher levels. This enhanced covering doesn't eliminate the reality of warfare, but it ensures that you're equipped to win the battles you'll face. You discover that every attack against you has been anticipated by heaven, every strategy of the enemy has been countered by divine wisdom, every weapon formed against you has been neutralized by spiritual authority. The warfare you face in seasons of wealth is more strategic than the warfare you faced in seasons of struggle. During your preparation period, the attacks were primarily designed to discourage you, delay you, or derail you entirely. But in your season of abundance, the attacks become more sophisticated, more targeted, and more deceptive. The enemy's goal shifts from prevention to perversion. Since he cannot stop your success, he tries to corrupt it. Since he cannot prevent your wealth, he attempts to contaminate it. Since he cannot abort your assignment, he works to compromise it. These strategic attacks often come through people who appear to be helping you but are actually hindering you, opportunities that seem beneficial but are actually harmful, decisions that appear wise but are actually destructive. The enemy uses subtlety rather than obviousness, seduction rather than force, deception rather than direct assault. With greater wealth comes greater responsibility, and with greater responsibility comes greater warfare. You're no longer just fighting for your own breakthrough, you're fighting for the assignments that your wealth will fund, the people that your resources will help, the kingdom purposes that your abundance will advance. Every attack against you is also an attack against those who will benefit from your success. Every attempt to discourage you is also an attempt to harm those who need what you'll provide. Every strategy to derail you is also a strategy to prevent the good that you'll accomplish. This understanding transforms your perspective on the warfare you face. You're not just fighting for yourself, you're fighting for your assignment. You're not just defending your success, you're defending your stewardship. You're not just protecting your wealth, you're protecting your purpose. This broader perspective provides motivation to persevere when the battles become intense. You understand that surrender is not just personal failure, it's assignment abandonment. Giving up is not just individual loss, it's generational tragedy. Your victory is not just personal triumph, it's kingdom advancement. The spiritual weapons required for this level of warfare are different from those needed in previous seasons. Prayer becomes more strategic and specific. Fasting becomes more targeted and intentional. Spiritual warfare becomes more sophisticated and sustained. You develop new levels of spiritual authority that match the new levels of spiritual responsibility. Your words carry more weight because they're backed by more resource. Your prayers have more impact because they're supported by more assignment. Your declarations create more change because they're empowered by more calling. But you also learn that the most powerful weapon in wealth warfare is wisdom. Wisdom to make decisions that align with your assignment. Wisdom to choose partnerships that enhance your purpose. Wisdom to deploy resources in ways that advance heaven's agenda. Wisdom to recognize and resist every attempt to compromise your calling. This wisdom is not natural intelligence, it's supernatural insight. It's not learned knowledge, it's revealed understanding. It's not accumulated information, it's divinely imparted discernment that enables you to navigate the complexities of wealth while maintaining the purity of your assignment. You are not being raised to outshine peers. You are being raised to outgive nations. This statement represents a fundamental paradigm shift that must occur in the minds and hearts of those called to kingdom wealth. The goal is not competitive superiority but compassionate generosity. The purpose is not to have more than others, but to give more than others thought possible. This shift requires abandoning the scarcity mindset that measures success by how much you accumulate compared to others and embracing the abundance mindset that measures success by how much you distribute for kingdom purposes. It means transitioning from a hoarding mentality to a sharing mentality, from a collecting approach to a circulating approach. The competitive spirit that may have motivated you during your climb to wealth must be transformed into a collaborative spirit that seeks to lift others as you've been lifted. The desire to outperform peers must evolve into a passion to outgive nations, to demonstrate generosity at levels that inspire and challenge entire communities and cultures. This doesn't mean abandoning excellence or diminishing your achievements. It means redefining what achievement looks like from heaven's perspective. True success is measured not by what you keep, but by what you give. Not by what you possess, but by what you distribute. Not by what you accumulate, but by what you circulate. Wealth will not only lift your life, it will rebuild what systems abandoned, amplify voices that carry truth, and ignite movements bigger than your name. Your assignment operates at scales that transcend personal benefit and extend into societal transformation. You're being resourced to address problems that governments have failed to solve, to meet needs that institutions have failed to address. The wealth coming to you is not just meant to improve your neighborhood, it's meant to impact your nation. Not just to bless your community, but to transform your culture. Not just to help your family, but to heal your society. The scope of your assignment matches the scale of your resources. You might find yourself funding educational initiatives that reshape how entire generations learn. You could be called to support economic development projects that revitalize entire regions. You may be led to back political movements that restore integrity to governmental systems, or social movements that bring healing to cultural wounds. The systems that have abandoned the poor, the marginalized, the forgotten, and the overlooked are the same systems that your wealth is meant to rebuild. Not through government programs or institutional initiatives, but through kingdom-minded individuals who understand that true wealth is a tool for systematic transformation. Your resources become the megaphone for voices that carry truth but lack platforms. In a world where truth is often suppressed by systems that benefit from deception, where righteous voices are silenced by powers that profit from injustice, your wealth provides the platform that truth-tellers need to reach the audiences they're meant to serve. You become the financial backing behind media companies that prioritize truth over profit, publishing houses that platform prophetic voices rather than popular ones, educational institutions that teach wisdom rather than just information, and technological platforms that amplify righteousness rather than just viral content. This isn't about promoting your personal opinions or advancing your political preferences. It's about recognizing voices that carry divine truth and providing them with the resources they need to reach the audiences heaven has assigned to them. Your wealth becomes the wind beneath the wings of those called to speak truth in seasons when truth is unpopular. Some of these voices may be unknown when you first support them, but they carry assignments that will shape generations. Others may be well known but under-resourced, lacking the financial backing needed to maximize their impact. Your role is to discern which voices heaven wants you to amplify and provide them with the resources needed to fulfill their assignments. You're positioned to ignite movements bigger than your name. The wealth flowing through your hands has the power to spark social movements, spiritual revivals, cultural reformations, and economic transformations that will impact millions of people across multiple generations. These movements won't necessarily carry your name or give you credit, and that's by design. Kingdom movements are bigger than the individuals who fund them, more important than the people who start them, and more enduring than the personalities who lead them. Your role is to provide the financial fuel that allows these movements to ignite and spread. You might fund the initial stages of a revival that sweeps across continents. You could provide the startup capital for a business model that revolutionizes how entire industries operate. You may support the early phases of a social movement that brings healing to generational wounds and reconciliation to divided communities. The movements you ignite will outlive you, outgrow you, and out-impact anything you could accomplish through individual effort alone. They represent the multiplication effect of kingdom wealth, the way divine resources, properly deployed, create exponential rather than linear impact. This is not about possession. It's about distribution. The wealth coming to you is not meant to be hoarded in accounts, accumulated in investments, or stored in properties. It's meant to flow through you like a river flows through a landscape, bringing life and transformation to everything it touches. Understanding this principle transforms your entire relationship with money. You cease to be a dam that stops the flow and become a channel that directs the flow. You stop being a reservoir that stores wealth and start being a distribution center that circulates wealth for kingdom purposes. This doesn't mean financial irresponsibility or reckless spending. It means strategic distribution based on divine direction, intentional circulation guided by kingdom priorities, and purposeful deployment aligned with heaven's agenda. You maintain enough for your needs and your family's security, but you distribute the majority for assignment fulfillment. The joy you experience from distribution far exceeds any satisfaction you could derive from accumulation. There's a spiritual high that comes from seeing your resources transform lives, solve problems, and advance kingdom purposes that no amount of personal luxury can match. Embracing this level of responsibility requires adopting what might be called a stewardship mindset, the understanding that you don't own your wealth, you manage it. You're not the proprietor of your resources, you're the administrator of them. You're not the owner of your assets, you're the trustee of them. This mindset shift is liberating rather than limiting. When you understand that you're managing heaven's resources rather than accumulating earthly possessions, the pressure to perform diminishes and the joy of purpose increases. You're not trying to build a personal empire, you're trying to advance a divine kingdom. The decisions become clearer when you approach them from a stewardship perspective. Instead of asking, "What will make me more money?" you ask, "What will advance the assignment?" Instead of wondering, "What will increase my worth?" you consider, "What will multiply the kingdom impact?" This stewardship mindset also provides protection against the pride and entitlement that can accompany wealth. When you understand that your resources are not rewards for your excellence but tools for your assignment, humility remains intact even as bank balances increase. Your assignment transcends geographical boundaries and cultural limitations. The wealth flowing to you is meant to impact not just your city or your nation, but your world. You're being positioned to think globally while acting locally, to consider international implications while addressing immediate needs. This global perspective might lead you to fund missions organizations that are advancing the gospel in unreached regions. You could support humanitarian efforts that are bringing relief to war-torn areas. You may invest in economic development projects that are lifting entire communities out of poverty in developing nations. The beauty of kingdom wealth is that it knows no borders. Resources deployed in one nation can create ripple effects that transform conditions in other nations. Investments made in one culture can generate benefits that bless multiple cultures. Movements started in one region can spread to impact the entire world. Your wealth becomes a bridge that connects heaven's resources to earth's needs, regardless of where those needs exist. You become a global distribution point for divine provision, a worldwide channel for kingdom resources, an international steward of heaven's economy. Wealth will draw people from your past, some repentant, some unchanged. This is one of the most predictable yet challenging aspects of financial elevation. Success acts like a magnet that attracts not only new opportunities and new relationships, but also old relationships that you thought were permanently severed. The people who ignored you during your struggle, who dismissed your dreams during your preparation, who abandoned you during your trials, will suddenly reappear when your breakthrough becomes visible. Some will come with genuine repentance, acknowledging their mistakes and seeking to make amends. Others will come unchanged, expecting to pick up where things left off as if their absence during your difficult seasons was irrelevant. This return of past relationships creates complex emotional dynamics that wealth alone cannot resolve. The hurt they cause doesn't automatically disappear because your circumstances have improved. The pain of their abandonment doesn't instantly heal because your bank account has grown. The wounds of their betrayal don't immediately close because your status has elevated. You'll find yourself face to face with people who represent some of the most painful chapters of your journey, seasons when their support could have made the difference, moments when their encouragement could have sustained you, times when their belief in you could have accelerated your progress. Their absence during those crucial moments will be a vivid memory even as they seek to celebrate your current success. They may never offer closure. This is perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of these returning relationships. Many of the people who resurface during your season of wealth will never acknowledge the pain they caused during your season of struggle. They won't apologize for their absence, explain their abandonment, or take responsibility for their lack of support. Some will act as if their previous treatment of you never happened, as if their rejection during your difficult seasons was justified, as if their current interest in you is purely coincidental rather than obviously opportunistic. They'll attempt to rewrite history, minimize their impact, or justify their behavior in ways that avoid accountability. Others will offer superficial acknowledgments that fall far short of genuine remorse. They might say things like, "I always believed in you," when they clearly didn't, or "I knew you'd make it," when they obviously doubted, or "I was always in your corner," when they were conspicuously absent from the fight. The temptation will be strong to demand the closure you deserve, to insist on the apology you've earned, to require the acknowledgement you need. But true royalty operates according to different principles than those governed by wounded ego or justified anger. But true royalty doesn't waste energy on revenge. This is one of the most defining characteristics of those who have been divinely elevated. They understand that their energy is too valuable to invest in vindictive pursuits, their assignment too important to be derailed by personal vendettas, their calling too significant to be compromised by the need for retribution. Royalty recognizes that revenge is a luxury they cannot afford, not because they lack the resources to pursue it, but because they have more important uses for their resources. Every moment spent plotting retaliation is a moment not spent advancing the assignment. Every dollar used for vindication is a dollar not used for transformation. Every ounce of energy devoted to payback is energy not devoted to purpose. This doesn't mean becoming passive in the face of injustice or weak in response to wrongdoing. It means being strategic about where you invest your emotional and spiritual capital. It means choosing battles that serve your assignment rather than battles that serve your ego. It means pursuing justice in ways that advance kingdom purposes rather than personal satisfaction. True royalty understands that the best revenge is massive success coupled with generous forgiveness. The most powerful response to those who doubted you is not to prove them wrong, but to lift them up despite their wrong. The greatest victory over those who hurt you is not to hurt them back, but to bless them forward. Forgive, release, and move forward. Not because they deserve peace, but because you do. This is the key to navigating the complex emotions that arise when people from your past resurface during your season of abundance. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to them, it's a gift you give to yourself. The people who hurt you may not deserve your forgiveness, but you deserve the freedom that comes from granting it. They may not merit your release, but you merit the peace that comes from offering it. They might not earn your blessing, but you earn the joy that comes from providing it. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. You can forgive someone without restoring them to their previous position in your life. You can release the hurt without reopening the relationship. You can grant peace without providing access. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying their wrong, not about giving them permission to wrong you again. This type of forgiveness is supernatural in nature because it flows from divine character rather than human emotion. It's based on the understanding that holding on to offense is more costly to you than the offense was in the first place. Unforgiveness is a prison where you serve a sentence for crimes someone else committed. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting the lessons their behavior taught you. The pain they caused was also education in human nature, training in discernment, preparation for dealing with similar situations in the future. You can forgive the hurt while retaining the wisdom that came from it. Setting appropriate boundaries with people from your past is not unforgiveness, it's wisdom. You can treat them with kindness while maintaining the distance necessary to protect your assignment. You can bless them from afar while keeping them away from your inner circle. You can pray for their success while preventing their sabotage. These boundaries are not walls of anger, they're fences of wisdom. They don't exist to keep people out of your blessing, but to keep the wrong people away from your assignment. They're not meant to punish others for past behavior, but to protect your future purpose from potential compromise. The goal is not to build permanent barriers, but to establish appropriate filters. Some people from your past may prove themselves worthy of restored relationship over time. Others may demonstrate that they haven't changed and cannot be trusted with access to your elevated season. Wisdom discerns the difference. Your response to those who return from your past becomes a testimony to your character development during your preparation season. How you handle their reappearance reveals how much you've grown, how deeply you've healed, how thoroughly you've been transformed by the process of elevation. If you respond with bitterness, you demonstrate that wealth has not yet healed the wounds of your heart. If you react with revenge, you reveal that success has not yet matured your character. If you reply with rejection, you show that abundance has not yet developed your capacity for grace. But if you respond with wisdom, grace, and appropriate boundaries, you demonstrate that your elevation has been internal as well as external. You show that your character has grown to match your calling, that your heart has expanded to match your assignment, that your spirit has matured to match your responsibility. This mature response becomes an example to others who are watching your journey. People who are still in their preparation seasons observe how you handle success, how you treat those who mistreated you, how you manage the complex emotions that come with elevation. Your response becomes a template for their own future behavior. Your decision to respond with forgiveness rather than retaliation creates a new pattern that will influence your children and their children. You break cycles of hurt and revenge that may have persisted in your family line for generations. You establish new precedents of grace and wisdom that will benefit your bloodline for years to come. Your children will observe how you handle betrayal and learn how to handle their own. They'll watch how you respond to injustice and develop their own responses accordingly. They'll see how you manage the return of people who hurt you and create their own frameworks for similar situations. By choosing forgiveness over revenge, grace over retaliation, wisdom over emotion, you teach the next generation that true power lies not in the ability to hurt those who hurt you, but in the capacity to bless those who cursed you. This is the character of royalty, the nature of divine elevation, the heart of kingdom wealth. When the wealth comes, you may feel like an imposter. This feeling is almost universal among those who experience significant financial elevation, especially when that elevation happens rapidly or dramatically. The mind struggles to reconcile the new reality with the old identity, creating a psychological gap that manifests as imposter syndrome. The symptoms are predictable and painful. You look at your bank balance and wonder if there's been a mistake. You walk into upscale establishments and feel like someone will discover you don't belong there. You receive invitations to exclusive events and question whether you're worthy of attendance. You make decisions involving large sums of money and fear that someone will expose you as unqualified. These feelings are not just psychological quirks, they're spiritual attacks designed to undermine your confidence in your divine assignment. The enemy understands that if he can make you feel illegitimate in your blessing, you'll operate tentatively in your calling. If he can convince you that you don't deserve your elevation, you'll function ineffectively in your assignment. Years of being overlooked may whisper, "This can't be for me." The voice of past rejection speaks louder than present reality. Memories of being dismissed, ignored, underestimated, or rejected create internal dialogues that question your right to occupy spaces of influence, your qualification to make decisions of significance, your worthiness to carry assignments of importance. But that's a lie. The whisper that says you don't belong is not the voice of truth, it's the voice of trauma. It's not divine revelation, it's demonic deception. It's not spiritual insight, it's psychological manipulation based on years of conditioning that taught you to accept limitation as normal, rejection as deserved, and exclusion as appropriate. Your past does not define your present assignment. The fact that you were overlooked in previous seasons doesn't mean you're not meant to be seen in this season. The reality that you were rejected by certain circles doesn't mean you're not destined for other circles. The experience of being underestimated by some people doesn't mean you're not called to exceed everyone's expectations. You were chosen before you were qualified. This is the nature of divine selection. It's based on heavenly criteria rather than earthly credentials. Heaven doesn't wait for you to meet human standards before assigning you to divine purposes. God doesn't require you to earn your calling through performance or prove your worthiness through achievement. Your assignment was determined by divine wisdom, not human evaluation. Your calling was established by heavenly insight, not earthly assessment. Your appointment was made by eternal perspective, not temporal judgment. The one who chose you sees qualities in you that others missed, potential in you that others overlooked, capacity in you that others underestimated. The very fact that you're reading this message, that your spirit is resonating with these words, that your heart is stirring with recognition, these are confirmations that you belong in the season you're entering. Your spiritual response to this assignment is evidence that you were designed for it. You don't need permission from your past to step into your future. The people who couldn't see your potential don't get to determine your position. Those who failed to recognize your value don't get to limit your worth. Those who underestimated your capacity don't get to cap your capability. Your new season requires new thinking, new confidence, and new understanding of your identity. You must learn to see yourself through heaven's eyes rather than through the lens of past rejection. You must understand your worth from divine perspective rather than human evaluation. This transition from imposter syndrome to assignment confidence is not automatic, it's intentional. It requires the deliberate renewing of your mind, the conscious rejection of limiting beliefs, and the purposeful embrace of your divine identity. Your assignment is a magnet that draws the right connections. This is one of the most remarkable phenomena of divine elevation. When you step into your assigned season, the people necessary for your success begin to appear seemingly out of nowhere. Connections that seemed impossible during your preparation season suddenly become natural and effortless. These are not coincidences or lucky breaks. They are divinely orchestrated encounters designed to position you for maximum impact. The mentor you need appears at exactly the right moment. The business partner who shares your vision emerges at the perfect time. The investor who believes in your assignment shows up precisely when you're ready for them. This magnetic effect operates according to spiritual laws rather than natural networking principles. You don't have to chase these connections or manipulate circumstances to create them. When you're operating in your divine assignment, the right relationships are drawn to you by the same spiritual force that's drawing you into your destiny. Not every connection is a divine connection. This distinction becomes crucial as your wealth increases and more people seek access to your resources and influence. The challenge lies in discerning which relationships serve your assignment and which relationships serve only themselves. Divine connections are characterized by mutual assignment alignment. Both parties benefit from the relationship, but more importantly, both parties' assignments are advanced through the relationship. These connections feel effortless and produce exponential results that exceed what either party could accomplish alone. Human connections, while not necessarily harmful, are primarily transactional. They're based on what each person can get from the other rather than what both can accomplish together. These relationships require constant maintenance and produce linear rather than exponential results. Divine connections also have a quality of permanence and depth that transcends circumstances. They survive disagreements, distance, and even seasons of separation because they're rooted in something deeper than convenience or mutual benefit. They're rooted in shared divine purpose. As your wealth increases, you must become increasingly selective about your associations. Not because you're becoming elitist or exclusive, but because your time and energy are finite resources that must be strategically invested to maximize your assignment impact. Every relationship requires investment, emotional energy, time, attention, and often financial resources. When you're carrying a divine assignment that could impact thousands or millions of lives, you must be wise about how you invest these limited resources. This selectivity is not about judging people's worth or value. Every person has infinite worth in heaven's economy. It's about discerning which relationships serve the assignment heaven has given you and which relationships, though valuable in themselves, are not part of your specific calling. The goal is to maintain a circle of relationships that supports, enhances, and advances your divine assignment while still treating all people with dignity, respect, and kindness. Terminal wealth dies with you. Generational wealth lives beyond you. This distinction is crucial for understanding the type of wealth heaven intends to flow through your hands. Terminal wealth is consumed by the recipient, it serves immediate needs, satisfies personal desires, and enhances individual lifestyle, but it provides no benefit beyond the life of the person who possesses it. Generational wealth, by contrast, is designed to impact multiple generations. It creates systems, institutions, and structures that continue producing benefit long after the original wealth creator has passed away. It establishes foundations that fund important causes for decades, businesses that provide employment for generations, and educational institutions that train leaders for centuries. The wealth coming to you is designed to be generational in nature. It's meant to create lasting impact, establish enduring institutions, and build systems that will serve your family line and your community for generations to come. Your assignment is to build systems that outlive you. While there's nothing wrong with enjoying the benefits of wealth, living in a nice home, driving quality vehicles, taking meaningful vacations, these lifestyle enhancements should never become the primary focus of your wealth. The majority of your resources should flow into building systems that create ongoing impact. Educational systems that train future leaders. Economic systems that create jobs and opportunities. Ministry systems that spread truth and healing. Social systems that address injustice and inequality. These systems become your true legacy, not the cars you drove or the houses you lived in, but the institutions you built, the problems you solved, the lives you transformed, and the systems you created that continue working long after you're gone. Generational wealth is reproductive rather than consumptive. It doesn't just provide for immediate needs, it creates the capacity to provide for future needs. It doesn't just solve current problems, it builds systems that prevent future problems. It doesn't just bless the present generation, it empowers future generations to create their own blessing. This requires thinking in terms of investments rather than expenses, systems rather than purchases, legacy rather than lifestyle. Every major financial decision should be evaluated not just for its immediate benefit, but for its generational impact. The question changes from, "What do I want?" to, "What will best serve the assignment?" From, "How can I enjoy this wealth?" to, "How can I deploy this wealth for maximum kingdom impact?" From, "What makes me happy now?" to, "What creates lasting change for generations?" The final test isn't poverty, it's prosperity. Anyone can maintain character when options are limited, but it takes special grace to maintain character when options are unlimited. The true measure of spiritual maturity is not how you handle lack, but how you handle abundance. Prosperity reveals what was always in your heart but was previously constrained by circumstances. It exposes motivations that were hidden, desires that were suppressed, and character flaws that were contained. When you have the resources to do anything, what you choose to do reveals who you really are. This is why the preparation season was so essential. The character development that occurred during your lean years was preparation for the character challenges you'll face during your abundant years. Every lesson learned in scarcity becomes a foundation for faithfulness in surplus. To whom much is given, much is required. This is not just a spiritual principle, it's a spiritual law that governs the distribution and retention of divine resources. The more resources heaven entrusts to you, the more responsibility heaven expects from you. This responsibility isn't burdensome, it's purposeful. It's not meant to weigh you down but to elevate your impact. The accountability that comes with wealth is designed to ensure that resources are used for their intended purpose rather than diverted to selfish ends. Your stewardship will be measured not just by what you accumulated, but by what you accomplished with what was accumulated. Not just by how much you received, but by how much you distributed. Not just by how wealthy you became, but by how many others became wealthy through your wealth. Your wealth is temporary, but your stewardship is eternal. The numbers in your account will one day become irrelevant, but the impact of your stewardship will echo throughout eternity. The assets you managed on earth will remain on earth, but the souls you touched through those assets will carry the impact into eternity. This eternal perspective transforms every financial decision into a spiritual decision. Every investment becomes an investment in eternity. Every purchase becomes a statement about your values. Every gift becomes a seed that will produce fruit in both time and eternity. Understanding the eternal implications of your stewardship provides motivation to use wealth wisely and purpose to use wealth intentionally. Your assignment is not just about improving conditions on earth, it's about creating impact that extends into eternity. The season you've been prepared for is upon you. The wealth you've been promised is being released. The assignment you've been given is being activated. This is not a drill, a false alarm, or another delay, this is your appointed time. Everything that seemed like delay was actually divine preparation. Everyone who seemed to abandon you was actually being removed to make room for the right people. Every closed door was actually protection from premature exposure. Every no was actually preparation for a yes that will exceed your expectations. You are ready. You are worthy. You are chosen. You belong in the season you're entering. The wealth that's coming to you is not an accident, a mistake, or a stroke of luck. It's a divine assignment that has your name written on it. Step into your season with confidence, knowing that heaven has prepared you for this moment. Walk into your wealth with humility, understanding that you're a steward rather than an owner. Move into your assignment with purpose, recognizing that your blessing is designed to bless others. Your moment has arrived. Your assignment is activated. Your wealth is released. Welcome to your season of sacred abundance.